I don't believe in like superlatives. Let's say, for example, once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't really believe in that. Because it depends on the person. That's how I see it. That it's okay for us to have certain rules in relationships.
They want to portray all the things that guys want to be. They want to be macho. They want to be, irresistible to the girl. They want to chase the girl and get the girl.
But sometimes if you talk about the issue, it makes things worse. I don't fully believe in that. Because for me, if you choose to not say something, that will always make things worse.
Please welcome Paolo.
Hey guys, what's
Hi,
up?
Paolo.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for
This
joining
is
us.
joining Paolo.
Awesome place. Yeah. Hey everyone.
Awesome.
So you guys are posting this on YouTube, right?
Yes, we are.
Hi YouTube, this is my debut on YouTube apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to YouTube. Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
channel.
This is very, very exciting.
Thank you. And basically, from our previous, episodes, we have this theme where we have people on the show, and we just interview basically about like different topics regarding the Philippines. And what we wanted to discuss today, which is I think a very common topic that I have with a lot of my Filipino friends, and we just wanted to pick your brain about that. It's just regarding like the cheating culture within the Philippines among like men and women, and just to get your thoughts about that. Because like, all right, so for me, I've had a lot of like discussions with men and women, and there's like a common question that like goes around, and I always get more or less the same answer. And it's more so like, is it okay for men to cheat? More so like husbands, right? They're already married. And a lot of the answers are like, yeah, because it's different if a guy cheats because there's no emotions or whatever. But if a woman cheats, because they're emotional, they get more attached and whatever answer. But that's very common. I just wanted to see is that I don't want to make that like the assumption that that's like for everyone. So I wanted to just pick your brain about like that. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, that's a very light topic. So I guess, I was reflecting about that when Bex asked me to join, right? So I did a bit of research, really couldn't find anything. I do see that here. And when I was reflecting about it, I was seeing it as more of how Philippine society is. It's not necessarily a man versus woman kind of issue. So when you look at, let's say, for example, the US in the past, where it wasn't that progressive, right? When women only started to vote and all of that. I mean, that early part. It's more, at that time, they felt that, it's okay for men to cheat, like what you said. Because it's all about the body, nothing about emotions and stuff. But when women cheat, supposedly, it's more of the emotional side, right? So for me, it's not really because, the Philippines is a conservative country, which it still is. But it's more about the progression of the society. If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that was a good comparison, like with the US.
Yeah, because like when you look at it now, right? So you have how the Philippines is trying to slowly become progressive. I mean, I think we're late by at least 30, 40 years, give or take. I mean, there's a lot of things that just shake. Okay, so like I have this example, right? So I was in Poblacion, not a surprise to anyone. Then me and Lors, you haven't met my friend Lors, I think. Or have you? No.
I think so. We met one, but I don't think it was Laura's.
Or it was probably L.
Yeah.
I think it was L.
Oh, it was L. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
We met L.
So, Lors and I were partying. She's like, I want to go out. I want to forget my ex, or usual.
The usual.
The usual line, right? Then, so we went out. Then we met this guy. He's I forgot where he's from. I'm guessing Britain, but I could be wrong. Then he's one of the most. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. Not progressive individual, in terms of how he views the roles of men and women in society.
It's traditional.
Yeah, definitely. Well, at least nicer than what I said. Mine was pretty nice, right? I could just use the M word and be done with it. But yeah, so the way he was talking about is like for him it's like men always have to lead, or women should what's the term for that? Like you have to follow. I'm trying to
Submissive.
They're thinking you have to be submissive and all of that. And whilst hearing that, I was like, damn, because how I see it is when you're in a relationship. So let's go to that. It's more about what you guys agree on. Because I know some women, honestly, right, who studied in great schools, they took masters and whatnot, but they said that when they're in a relationship, they don't mind that their husbands lead the way. For them, it's more if they want to be a caring partner that when they have kids, if they want that or whatever, she wants to do that just because when she was growing up, she didn't really necessarily have that. And I do have friends who also have that, but then for them it's really in their nature, right? Then I know some men where for them it's like, we're equals in this relationship. Maybe sometimes I have to lead or other times you have to lead. So it's about, that's how I see it, that it's okay for us to have certain roles in relationships, but it always has to be agreed on and not forced on an individual.
That makes a lot of sense. So like, I guess I have a follow-up question with what you said regarding like roles and like women and men, right? So, and also circling back to the cheating part of it, because I get it how it's a natural instinct for women to want to be, caregivers. Maybe it's an act. Again, I'm not really sure about the whole genetics part about it, but let's say that, and the men are the instinct is to lead and be the head of the family. But when it comes to cheating, right, especially in the Philippines, that divorce is not really a thing.
Yeah.
Do you also think that because of that, like natural, like you should take care of me and like I'm just gonna be, I wouldn't say submissive, but kind of submissive. That's why it's okay. Well, most of the answers that we got from our male friends that it's okay because they're the head of the family anyways, and it's like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I guess that goes back to how society is, right? I mean, I was very lucky. My dad, in the early part of his career, he was like sent abroad, not an OFW, but when he was working in one of the biggest accountancy firms here, he was sent abroad because they said, "Oh, this guy's apparently smart," right? And so he got, so he worked in Hong Kong, he worked in New York, Chicago, all that. So I guess because back in the 80s, the US was obviously way more progressive than here. So when we were growing up, he taught us a lot of very things that people would consider progressive taboo back then, like how women and men are equal. In terms of wages, the one thing my dad made sure was that you're paid based on your experience and not your gender when he was in control of things. So from it didn't matter if you're a guy, okay, if you're a girl, okay, but he just looks at your experience and says, okay, if let's say Bex has more experience than me, I'll pay Bex more because it wouldn't make sense that he pays me more and I have less experience than Bex.
Yep, as it should be.
So in terms of the whole cheating, I think it's because growing up, when you look at Filipino films, a lot of them aren't good. But the whole thing is always
wait. What does that have to do with dating?
No. So going back to that, like it's always
just
about.
So you guys know.
You just want to throw that in there.
I just want to throw shade. No, but like that one. When you look at Philippines, it's always about romantic stuff, right? Like 90% of the films are like that, shows and whatnot. And when you look at the roles of the lead men and the lead women, it's always the guy trying to chase after the girl, and the girls being marupok, as they would call it, fragile. Oh, I love you, it's okay, things like that. And I guess because when you grow up like that, where you see that men are supposed to be the macho side and the women are submissive side, you believe that, since I'm the leader here, I'm the provider, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And you as a woman, you just have to accept it.
Yeah, I have another angle to this that I want to bring to the table, to the podcast here. So this is a bit of a long one, so I'll start.
Sure.
So for the longest time, women were considered objects of men.
Yeah.
This is not like a theory. This is a fact.
Yeah.
You can see this in the way that they do marriage names. Like people were like Miss, and then when you're married, you become Mrs. But if you look at the spelling of Mrs., it's Misters. Yeah. It's MRS. It's Misters, the property of the man, right? And so for the longest time, everything, all entertainment, all other things, they're all geared towards the male gaze. Now you can see this now in Hollywood movies. There's different movies that are more appealing to guys, and different movies that are more appealing to girls. Yeah. You'll have a rom-com that's for a guy and a rom-com for a girl, and the way the guys and girls are completely different in both movies. Yeah. And like you were saying, way back when, 30, 40 years ago, there was more so romantic movies, like what you said, that were geared towards guys, right? Yeah. Because they want to portray all the things that guys want to be. They want to be macho. They want to be, irresistible to the girl. They want to chase the girl and get the girl. Whereas there wasn't a lot of, stuff geared towards the female gaze because they weren't considered an important, member of society or the population. Whereas now that we have more and more of inclusivity, there's now more stuff that's geared towards women, and so now things are changing, especially in the way women view themselves as well. Because before they didn't have any reference other than the stuff that was made for the male gaze.
Yeah. Going back to cheating, right? connecting into that. When someone wants to cheat, whether it's a guy or girl, they'll always find an excuse, right? And we can have like a 10-hour argument whether it's valid or not, right? Because here's how I see it. I don't believe in like superlatives.
Sorry.
Like superlatives, like when you say, let's say for example, once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't really believe in that. Because it depends on the person, right? There are people who are serial cheaters, and you have to accept that there are people like that. But there's some people who just made one mistake.
Yeah,
right?
based on the circumstances.
Exactly. And again, I'm not validating cheating. It's just that you also have to understand where they're coming from. And when we're talking about relationships, right, and whatnot, if the partner is willing to forgive and the cheater is willing to change, why will you kind of carry that throughout the life of that person?
That's a good. I mean,
because you can make a mistake, and it could be a grave mistake. Right?
Yeah. I think that's a great point, but it just kind of like reminds me of that movie we watched, like People. It's called.
Is it the one of Ben Stiller, Adam Sandler?
No, it's Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill. It was about,
Jonah Hill.
Basically about like mixed, like a black chick and a white guy dating and blah blah blah, and you were like,
oh, it's like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Okay.
Kinda.
Not the Ashton Kutcher. That was bad.
That was bad. But it was mostly
the original one's really.
They use this analogy to explain like racism in the U.S. with black and white people. It's kind of like cheating. Like let's say a partner cheats and you forgive them, but you're still kind of like, yeah, but you cheated on me. You carry that throughout the whole relationship. That's how it is for like apparently black people and white people because of slavery. So like. Yeah, but you still did that.
The best.
So that was the analogy.
I was
kind of
that was really reaching for.
That was kind of like.
It wasn't. I think we're not really giving justice to the actual like scene, but it kind of made sense.
It made
how
sense how she
think,
said that. I was like, yeah, I get it. I get maybe that's why some black people, I won't say bitter, but they're kind of like.
I think what it is resentment, because you build up resentment when you want to say something, but you don't. You choose not to. Right? I think this happens in relationships. This is why people end up cheating or why people end up breaking up. Right? Let's say you have an argument and then you don't feel like it's resolved in a way that you feel satisfied about it, but you know that talking about the argument is not going to make things better.
Yeah.
Instead, what you'll do is you won't fight about it anymore, but you still will feel resentment. You'll carry that resentment over towards the next argument until it blows up. And that's probably the same thing in that movie, right? Where they had resentment towards each other because of different factors, right? Maybe factors that are out of their control. Right?
More so race in that movie.
In that movie, more so race, right? And that's why I feel like that part of it is agreeable to dating or a relationship or cheating, right?
Yeah.
Basically, someone cheated on you or you cheated on someone, and then you guys forgave it, you've changed, but it still doesn't feel good that you cheated on them or they cheated on you, so you feel resentment about it. It doesn't matter that they've changed and all that stuff. Yeah. You're gonna carry that resentment forwards, which is why usually people end up, even if they're like they've changed, they've all that stuff, they can't really truly forgive.
I guess it's more on that's how I see it, because you mentioned a while ago that sometimes if you talk about the issue, it makes things worse. I don't fully believe in that, because for me, if you choose to not say something, that will always make things worse. They say, right, in a relationship, the key is always communication, no matter what.
Yep.
Because like what Liz, I think Liz, you're the one who mentioned it, right? That if you can't, or was it you, Chase? That if you can't communicate with your partner, or if you guys don't know how to talk, then it's kind of the end of it, right?
Yeah. The relationship is dead at that point, because it means that you're already on one track, one stop. Track to end the relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
But wait, one thing I was thinking about just relating to the Philippines that I find interesting is because living here for like 12 years, I don't see the Philippines in general as a misogynistic country, because you guys have had like women presidents, right? And working here, I do not see any like gender gap. I think people get
in terms
paid,
of wages.
People get paid fairly, and when I see relationships, I think the women are being treated well. So it's kind of just interesting to considering that, but also the cheating culture, because it's like, I mean, women are not like like if you compare it to the U.S., they're not really having the short end of the stick, but at the same time, why are they then viewed as inferior when it comes to like that aspect, especially that divorces? I think is Philippines the only country that divorces the people?
Vatican in Philippines,
right? So it's kind of just like,
I mean, it'll never
in
happen
that
in the
sense.
Vatican.
Well, yeah, never, but here I don't know. But in that sense, it's kind of like, if the view of the guys, and maybe it's just more so socially accepted that people are, it's okay to cheat, then the woman always has the short end of the stick because they can't really leave the relationship. But everything else feels like it's fine. So I don't get why that view even exists if people,
I guess it's more of maybe look at what your echo chamber is at. Because if you're really talking to people, let's say from Manila or people who are extremely well educated, then maybe that's why you don't see it that much. But when you go to the far-flung provinces and things where Filipino culture is really like pure. I mean, in the last election, I hear women saying, "Oh, I'm voting for this person because my husband says so," or even daughters saying, "Oh, I'm voting for this person because my dad told me to." So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a prevalent thing in the whole country, but it does exist. And you're right, maybe in terms of like the wage gap, in terms of promotions and such, unlike in the US where it's a huge problem, it may not be as big here as you mentioned. We've had 2 women presidents and all of that, and we've had a lot of women senators.
Yeah, so it's more progressive in that sense.
In that sense, but yeah, just going back to how the whole macho sense that men feel that because they're men, they have to lead, they have to be the strong one, and women just have to be submissive. But at the end of the day, like what I said, it should always be about agreement in a relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chief, you wanted to say something.
I was gonna ask you a question. Like,
sure.
I don't know if this is the case, but in my opinion, I feel like the reason why we have a lot of women senators and women presidents, I don't think it's because there's like a big acceptance of women in power. I think it's more so because people keep putting their children or their family in power, and they just happen to have daughters. Sorry if that's a big take. If that's a wide
I could semi-agree with you in terms of maybe the more localized governments, like the Congress people,
exactly.
etc. But for the presidents, because how politics is done here, it's very It's almost
like a retroactive U.S. politics.
It's very character-based, right?
Yeah.
It's not about... But in the U.S., you have the Democrats versus the Republicans, right? I mean, Clinton lost to Trump. But to be fair to him, how he campaigned, I felt he deserved to win over her. That was her fault, honestly.
Yeah,
that was her fault.
I think all she had on her was that I'm a woman, and that's it.
And then she gave up Pennsylvania. Like, I'm going to win here anyway. Then she lost, right? So that's like a huge slap.
Okay. Regardless of U.S. politics.
No, but sorry. So going back to you. I guess like for the 2 women presidents, I think they really earned it.
Okay.
Not really because they were put there. Because like for example, the first woman president, Cory, her husband died, and she became like the image of democracy. Right, because it was her husband who was there, and she was there saying, I'm here to continue what my husband is fighting for, which is democracy. Then when you look at Gloria, her father was president in the 60s before Marcos, so he didn't really put her there. She really earned it by being VP and having a good plan. But going back to what we were talking about, because we were talking about
polyamorous relationships.
Relationships. Here's how I see relationships, but not my personal view. For as long as permissions are agreed on and stuff. Like I do know some people who have that kind of relationship where for them I say, we're together, but I could sleep with whoever I want. For as long as you know about it. So for as long as it's agreed upon in the progressive way, then it's okay. Because it's between 2 people, right? Or between a group of people. Let's just say a group of people, right?
It's between people.
Yeah, it's between people. For as long as you have, let's say, certain boundaries that are agreed and stuff, then technically, in the most technical sense, it's not cheating, right? But if you look at the traditional way, that is cheating. So, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't really say, even let's say it was agreed upon, I wouldn't really say it's technically cheating. I wouldn't say it's cheating, period, because it's agreed upon. I think cheating is when you do something behind your partner's back.
You break their trust.
And break their trust, but they already know, so you're like, because I think, it's like, again, as you said, it's between the two people, like, all right, this is okay, setting boundaries and what is okay and what is not. And if you agreed upon that and you're still within the contract, then I think it's okay. But if
what I have noticed though is that it's usually it's one person suggesting it and then another person accepting it, but not necessarily being happy about it.
Well, sometimes it's I know
there are people.
There are people who like find themselves. They have group chats where like, all right, who's like
I think it's synopsis like every relationship is different. That's why when people like judge like, it's like that. I mean, if they're fine with it, then why should I fucking care, right?
If they're happy, and they're healthy, they're living their best life. Who are we to judge?
Exactly. Right? Yeah. But going back to your point, I like that. Wherein, it's usually one person who suggested and another says, yeah, because I love you, sure.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So
the person who's saying because I love you, he shouldn't agree to that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, that relationship, in my opinion, will never work out. So that's how I see that. Like, you have to look at the red flags of the relationship. Because, like, again, no one is perfect, right?
Yeah.
If you lie about your age, your weight, or whatever, but you see that that's the only thing, and you feel that you can, get over it, and that you can have a great relationship out of that, then go for it.
Yeah. I think, well, my point there, my biggest thing is this: if you can't be yourself and get someone to like you for who you are, you're not going to be happy in that relationship. Because at some point, you gotta stop. You gotta pull down
the facade.
Pull down the facade, right? You gotta be like, you're gonna be your true self, and they're not gonna like it, or they're gonna be like, well, who is this? Like, who are you, right? And that's just gonna be the end of the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, for me, I believe that, you have to be straight out with everything. Like, find out, like, what if you guys have, like, similar beliefs and all of that. I believe that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even, like, as little as the types of, like, things you like to do to, like, distress. Something like that is a big thing. Because what if, let's say, the type of person that likes to stay home and watch Netflix, while the person prefers to go out?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Why the fuck are you looking at me?
Nothing.
So, that's something that you have to think about. That can I live with that? Let's say, can I stay at home with her or him?
Yeah.
Or and that person likes staying home, can I go out with him or her? So those are things.
Yep.
And, and when you don't agree in those things, that leads to cheating. Because one of the
You're not
parties is
content.
not happy anymore.
Yeah, you're looking
whether it's
outside
emotional,
of it.
whether it's physical, and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, those are all facts. Like, I agree with you 100% there. Like, one thing I also, like, learned is that, because especially this generation now with the whole, like, online dating apps and stuff, it's just easy, I guess. And then that also is a big part of cheating because, like, let's say there's a minor, like, you guys have a minor fight, you're like, and love has become so conditional, like, oh, you did this, I don't love you anymore, and then I have Bumble now because it's easy, I know I can get someone else. And then we have that, and we have that constant, like,
Sponsor them, Bumble.
Bumble.
Oh, Bumble.
and we have that constant, like, thinking that we can always find, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? But I think this generation is we need to put more importance into, like, actually working for the relationship, because every relationship isn't perfect, as you said. It requires work, effort, like, patience, trust, respect, all that stuff. And people are just not willing to do that anymore because, I can just swipe and find someone else. Like, why do I have to waste my time and effort,
I think, the other big thing is that there's the expectations of what a relationship is. Everyone says you need to find the perfect partner, right? When no one talks about what you need to do yourself. I feel like that's a big thing.
Yep. Social media, right? Because you see a couple on Instagram, like, goals, but then you're like, there's not accountability. Like, I want my, especially with women, right?
I find a man that does this.
Yeah, I want my Prince Charming. I'm like, well, girls also need.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we bringing to the table?
And vice versa, guys. Like, I want a woman who can cook, and well, what the fuck are you doing then? You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, I think we need to find the best versions of ourselves, and then that's when we're gonna attract, what's best for you. Yeah. Not necessarily what's perfect.
Plus, it's not about finding a relationship that works. It's about making the relationship work. Now, that's not to say that you should stay in, like, a bad relationship and just try your best to make it work.
Yeah.
I think you can reflect on that.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that you should just leave at the first sign of danger, like
abort.
Run. But it does mean that you should carefully think about, like what you were saying. Can I actually go through with this long term? Will this be a problem? Should I talk to them about it? Will they listen to what I say? Or is what I'm saying, should I also, like, change what I'm thinking?
Exactly.
Right? You need to think about all these things. And that's the only way you're going to get a good relationship.
Yeah. So going back to that, like, I guess the question is, should I talk about them? I think the answer is always yes. Because sometimes, when you talk about them and they, really listen and stuff, that's when you have realizations. So I always say, if you feel like you question, should I talk to them about it? Always do.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right partner, they'll listen, they'll analyze it with you, and you guys can work through it. Right. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Now going back about how Bex mentioned that people don't want to work in a relationship anymore.
I feel like if it feels like you have to put it, I mean, obviously you have to put an effort, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
But I feel like to stop putting in effort, you have to not necessarily have a bad relationship, but you have to have a relationship in which you guys have become symbiotic. And I feel like, once you become one person, then it's a bad thing. You guys should still be individuals.
Well, yeah, because people get like comfortable and like,
Yeah.
I don't even need to do anything. Because then when like, you meet someone, you want to put your best foot forward, you dress pretty, the guy blah, 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 he like, whatever. And then let's say you're like 5 years into a relationship, you're like, yeah. But I think for a relationship to last for like 40, 60, forever, it needs to feel like, the first time. Where you're always putting effort.
It needs to still be fun.
And it needs to still be fun,
But I guess not the effort of like always dressing up.
Well, not
But it could be
always,
the effort,
but
like,
if you
yeah.
go on a date, don't go in
Exactly.
pajamas.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Gestures, like,
Unless you
little
guys
things.
want that,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you want to
yeah.
go in pajamas.
Yeah. So
yeah.
and also we have to think about the foundation of the relationship. So the Nas Daily video.
Yeah.
Remember how he said I was traveling the world and I met this amazing girl, then she came from a divorce and all of that. How I analyzed it was they both were, how do I say, they fell in love with the idea of each other,
Yeah.
but not with each other.
Yeah.
The actual
Yes.
person.
Because
yeah.
like, okay, so like for Alin, I don't really know her religion or her background and
yeah.
stuff. But when you come from a divorce, it's because you want to be free. You want freedom from someone, right? And yet when she got that and she was traveling, she met Nas, who represented freedom. Why? Because he traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
He does whatever he wants. Now for Nas, maybe he met this amazing girl who was bubbly, who made sense to him and stuff. But that's not really a foundation of a relationship.
Plus, I feel like in that moment, Lynn,
Yeah, Alin or sorry, I'm not
she's
sure
not
her
necessarily who she is all the time. She's still in a point where she's trying to figure out who she's going
exactly.
to be after the divorce.
Yeah.
And so that person who she is that who she was in that state of mind, that state of being. And then once they got in a relationship, over time she's gonna slowly drift away from that. Unless, it had been like a while that she had been that way.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was also another factor.
Exactly. Like because she didn't know who she was, like what you said.
Yeah.
And that's why did he start traveling? Because to discover who he was.
Yeah.
Then you're both travelers, then you get into this relationship. That's what they said, right? Like something lessons for the heart is never a waste of time. I agree with that. But if they understood who they were in that relationship and how to make it work, I felt that they would have never had that relationship.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have known that unless they had the relationship.
That's true also. It's just
Yeah,
just that 6 years. Well, Daniel Sloss did say, is it 6 years wasted or did you save the rest of your life? Right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
That is
that's
a
good-
very
yeah.
good point. I think I never could, even if that's in your relationship for 15 years, if it didn't work out, I think like you mentioned, you're just saving the rest of your life because you should always take it as like a lesson. Like, what did you learn?
Exactly.
Right. If you didn't learn anything, well, that's kind of on you.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't make
But-
a mistake to like think that 4 years with someone is like a waste. But if you think about it, regardless of any relationship you have, whether it's shit or not, you still learn. Like you're the person you are now because of those different like.
Definitely.
Yeah,
shit
You
that
go
happened
like,
in the-
okay,
yeah.
I definitely don't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah, like, and now
yeah.
you know what you want. Like next relationship, like okay, this is what I can tolerate. This is my boundaries, and then you avoid wasting time because you already went through that. Unless you're Maruk Walk and you just.
No, but that's the thing though. But that's the thing though. I
know.
noticed there are a lot of people nowadays, both men and women, who, especially the young people, who just don't have that ability.
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
pattern, right? You
Yeah,
keep on
for
seeing
them,
the same
exactly.
guys, the
Yeah.
same girls.
I mean, yeah, it's because they're not. No one's told to reflect. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
They keep on
Yeah,
jumping
I
into
keep telling
relationship
people
and
to that.
relationship.
Yeah, they're told when you find the right person, it will just fit, and so they think the solution is just date more people.
Yeah.
I know someone.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Like the problem there is that they weren't told that when your brain's a problem solving machine. That's what your brain always wants to do. It wants to solve problems, and it uses data to do so. Your data is your experiences and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also qualitative data that's been processed.
Yeah.
You have all this raw data, but you haven't been processing it all.
Exactly.
You can't see the full picture. You can't
Yeah.
see the graph that shows the trend line.
That if you
Okay, if you date
date this kind of guy,
it's not gonna go well, right?
like a pharma bro or whatever, stand back, y'all. No, but
Can I have some wine?
Yeah, of
But
course.
okay, so going back, this is what I told my friends. So I have this good friend, Lors. Sorry, Lors. No, but really great person. And she's slowly getting there and all of that. She just didn't have guidance. So I'll just use my empty glass as an example, okay? I see that life when you start out is like let's
Alright, let's leave it empty.
when we're born, our cup is empty.
Yeah.
Right, empty cup. So sorry, can I borrow some? Here, I'll borrow yours instead. Okay, so let's pretend that let's just use Chase and Liz as the example since you guys are the couple.
Okay.
All right. So Chase and Liz, when they were born, this was empty and stuff. And when you go through life, You slowly fill up your cup. Experiences, people, friends, heartbreaks, whatever. But before you get into a relationship, you have to make sure that, or anything in life, you have to make sure your cup is full. That whatever you pour in, let's say, Chase's cup, and vice versa, it just overflows and you're just giving each other.
What if it
As
spills?
compared, then that's okay because that means it's abundance of whatever, right? What you don't want to happen is, let's say, Chase is full, then Liz is empty. Then Chase is the only one pouring. Because he's, getting tired, he's giving up so much, while Liz is just getting and getting and
being
getting.
drained.
Correct. So that's how people should see life and relationships.
Yeah,
that,
that's a good.
you can't just be the only one giving, and you can also be the only one receiving.
Yeah,
Give and take that part.
Give and take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Push and pull.
Sorry, I don't know whose glasses. You guys are together, so it's fine.
No, that's a great
Oh,
point.
here's
Great
just a
point.
point.
Great
So-
point. Great.
Thanks. You.
100%
So,
point.
yeah, so it's stuff like that, and I guess a lot of young people don't understand that.
Bakit pa ganun?
Not sponsored, you know?
Not sponsored.
Yeah, I mean, going back to
Naman.
what you said, like that's how you know.
No, but no, like, just like to sum it all up, I guess my question for you, Paolo, is: do you think? I mean, just going back to the.
Yeah.
Do you
really,
think like do you think divorce should be a thing here in the Philippines?
Well, going back to the main topic about cheating in the Philippines. Sorry, I remember the earlier question, so I'll answer that. So divorce, I do believe, should be a thing, just because here's the thing. So when you look at the religious standpoint, right, in the Catholic Church, it's annulment, right? Which is very expensive, it's hard to get, and things like that. But it's them saying that marriage never happened. As compared to divorce, where the state recognizes that, the marriage did happen, but because of certain things,
It didn't work out.
Which I think is a better take to a marriage. Because like what you guys said, it's about learning and all of that.
Yeah.
And if annulment was as easy as getting a divorce, then we wouldn't have this kind of problem. But divorce is more efficient and it's cheaper, right? So I do support divorce. It doesn't necessarily. Here's how I see things. Like, I support certain things that I myself wouldn't do, but I wouldn't deny people the chance of having those things, right? Like if a woman says that I don't want to be in this relationship because this guy who I married is a serial cheater, he doesn't want to change, and he's, let's say, verbally abusive or whatever, I wouldn't want to give her a chance to be happy again. Right? So for me, I personally don't want a divorce or whatever, or it's not something so far that I believe in, like for my for my life. But I wouldn't deny anyone happiness because of that.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that point because I don't think I grew up in my family. My dad and mom, they're separated.
Yeah.
I mean, they're divorced in the U.S.
Yeah.
But they're separated here, and they just didn't go through it because it was such a hassle to do.
It is,
here.
yeah. But that's the sad thing. Like they both could have maybe met people, and if they wanted to,
I don't think anything was stopping them. But
Will I get married again?
No, but sometimes,
yeah,
it will
here.
stop them unless if they get
Yeah.
married in the U.S.
yes, it would be difficult to get married again here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something. I mean, would happen. I think eventually it will, just because I mean, the ones that I know of are in the LGBT community. So I'm not really sure why that's it. I'm not trying to say anything. It's just a fact. But in any progressive society, if something is really progressive, the idea, and it does make logical sense, then I think it could happen. I mean, we never really thought that in the Philippines, we'd be discussing about how there's misogyny in the society. Because, sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier. But there's a lot. Let's say they have laws in place about catcalling and all of that. Because me personally, I really don't believe in that. Like for me, if you want to get a girl's attention, you show just how awesome you are without lying and all. Like honestly, like for example, you Bex. What if I said, I don't know, give me something. I can't think of anything. I'm not trying to be nice. I really can't think of anything misogynistic to say.
Misogynistic to say.
I don't know.
Oh, you
look
belong
better-
in the kitchen, like.
Or you look
make me
better
a
if you lost a
sandwich.
little-
Yeah, no, let's just say I say something misogynistic.
Yeah.
Whatever, you can just for the
Yeah.
viewers, you
Yeah.
can just include. Would you find it attractive?
No.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if I look like who guy do you like a lot? Like who actor do you like a lot? Or singer or whatever.
Chris. What's his
Hemsworth?
name? No.
Brown?
Henry Cavill.
Oh, okay. Like even if I look like Henry Cavill 100%, but I said something misogynistic to get your attention, do you think?
No, I would not. I would. Definitely.
I like how Bex. I would not, but in
Yan yung mga
Henry Cable though.
Depende sa tao.
Like
Depende sa tao. Like maybe like a one night stand. But like,
At least you're not like with a fucking ogre. 'Cause that's, you know what I mean?
Guys, looks
no,
matter.
no, no,
That's
no.
what they're saying.
No, I
That's
they,
enough
they,
to
they,
say the
they
story.
always say
Looks matter.
Thank you so much for
looks
watching,
matter.
guys. I hope you learned a lot today.
No, but yeah.
Don't ignore me, guys.
Yeah, but they're going from like, if you really want someone's attention, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
It's just that, a lot of these guys or these people, there are women who do that.
Yeah.
Too. Not as much,
Yeah,
but there
yeah.
are women who do that. It's about them just thinking that, because I look this way or because there's a certain like idea of how society sees the roles of these people. They think it's okay, but it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It really is not.
I mean, sometimes it's just for their own pleasure. They're not doing it because they think someone's gonna be like into
Or it could
it.
be, it could be that.
They're just doing it because they know it makes someone else uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
it gives them a little bit of enjoyment.
And that's a
Okay,
bit.
that-
That's also more
yeah.
disturbing, actually.
That's
more
there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. I mean, I would accept like maybe you grew up being macho, thinking women
Yeah,
are
yeah,
property,
yeah.
which obviously they're not.
But-
But if you're just doing that because you're kind of weird, that's really bad.
You need help.
Yeah.
But
Get some help.
Yeah, this has been like great. I have learned a lot today. I have to like self-reflect. But thank you so much, Paolo, for joining this podcast. It's really been amazing, and maybe soon we can also guest your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have
Yeah.
all three of you. Then we could have like a 9-hour maybe like 1 to 2 hours at most.
Yeah, no, like I'm down for that.
Yeah, when you're better, just so that we have, we can drink a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So we're gonna put like Paolo's like podcast as well in the link. Is it on Spotify?
Yeah, it's on Spotify and Facebook, but I prefer Spotify because I do video anyway also. So it's
Gotcha. All right, so we'll put it in the link if you guys are interested in checking it out. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe. If you have any like opinions about this topic, just leave it in the comments, and we'll try our best to reply.
And Paolo, you have a camera on you. If you have anything you want to say, just
Yeah,
say
so thanks again, Liz, Bex, and Shay for having me, guys. I've seen some of your episodes. Was it a Swedish girl last time?
She's from Belgium.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, no, but great podcast. Because like we were talking about offline that some podcasts just do things just to like Joe Rogan just being right wing and all of that. But we just need these kinds of topics, and so if any people who watch my podcast or first time watching this, check out their other episodes and subscribe to them. Great stuff.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, great stuff.
You didn't have to give us that much of a shout out.
No, but yeah,
You could
great
have just
stuff.
like talked about yourself.
No, it's okay. I mean, for me, it's about helping each other out and
Yeah.
stuff, and for me, if it's a good product or a good thing, you should always support, right? So
Aw, thanks, Paolo.
Anyways,
Thanks, Paolo.
Thanks, Paolo.
definitely.
Well,
Anyways,
That's it, guys. For me.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
This is my favorite one.
Mag-usap tayo.